What's up, everybody? It's your boy over No Reaction. How you doing? How you doing? I've been doing fine, but hey, I have some surprises for you, but we'll save it to the end of the video. So we're checking out why. Well, as you know, I've been actually thinking of reviews. I might do it around October. Like I'm planning to do a review on two Halloween specials from the series Family Matter. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. Stevel 1 and Stevel 2. Which I want to do a review on that because I'm planning to do that as together as part of my audio reviews as usual. Also, comment down below what other Halloween specials that I missed so I can do a review on that. Which, hey, you all guys enjoyed my reviews during October, which, hey, October's my favorite month. Who doesn't love it? Equal nostalgia about all things Halloween. I'm planning to do his reactions from Ava Pop Culture, was it? Let me move the camera a little bit so I can see the name. Yeah, Ava Pop Culture. This was, I think, released like 4 days ago, I believe. Why Halloween was so much better in the 80s and the 90s, which, wow. I might agree on that because, fortunately, I was not really, well, technically I was born in 96, so my first experience on Halloween was television. The first time I trick or treated was in the 3rd grade because one, I was living in West Virginia back in the time. Because let's just say when your mother is a Catholic, which, let's just say when we moved to Florida, I started trick or treating. I remember the costumes I wore on each Halloween from the 3rd grade up to the 5th grade. I think it was the 3rd grade. I was dressed as the Black Knight. You know, knight armor costumes you find in Walmart. Yeah. Hey, happy memories from the early 2000s. And I think it was 4th grade, I was dressed as Darth Vader. Hey, we all dress as Star Wars. Who cares? Don't judge. I had a great time. And my final one was a mummy, but with a creative twist. I used a zombie mask. It actually looked pretty dope. Oh boy, but those were happy memories. And that was the last time I trick or treated in 5th grade because by after I graduated 5th grade, I moved here in Perigo, which, yeah. If you recall, Perigo does not celebrate Halloween because we have a bunch of idiots who ruined it. I'm not talking about politicians, I'm talking about criminal idiots who just ruined the fun for everybody, that's why. Even while I was taking my master's, those who say masters at night had to cancel class because of vandalisms. As in, yeah. We could get out at night, pop goes the assholes. But I remember while I was living in West Virginia, you know what I dressed as in kindergarten? Clifford, the big red dog. I am not joking. I still have a photograph of me as Clifford. I still have my yearbook from kindergarten, which, yeah. Jesus Christ. And I think it was 1st grade. I was dressed as a fireman. Had to repeat the 1st grade because my teacher was a racist bitch. And guess what I dressed up that year? Ghostface. I still have my mask. It was a glow-in-the-dark Ghostface mask that I got from Kmart. It still fits. It still glows in the dark. It aged, but aged like wine. Damn. I remember the trick-or-treating when I was from 3rd to 5th grade. Wow. The candy. Jesus. I get buttloads of candy. A whole lot. My mom was a control because remember she's a nurse, health things. Hey, I can control my candy eating. My brother can't due to his autism. Damn, but the candy was good back in the day. Whew, Hershey, Starburst, Skittles. What else? Jelly beans? Yeah. Even the lightsaber gummies, they were good. Even the gummy bears, wow. I think there was one neighbor. I think she was a nice old lady. Gives us pennies, literally in tinfoil. Which, hey, very courtesy. Damn. I remember I went to my first Halloween party. It was my first and last because of my brother. Let's just say my brother has a tension with my friend's younger brother who has Down syndrome, and he's bullying him. And here's the kicker: how it caused, I do not know. When we were living in West Virginia, he was calm, no problem. The moment we hit in Florida, he starts targeting this specific kid with Down syndrome who has done nothing to him. Literally, he's made his life a living nightmare. And when he sees me as like an angel, like a guardian. Like, because one, I'm the chill guy. Because one, I'm buddies with his brothers, his sisters as well. Hey, I'm the chill guy. But with my brother, no, he ruins shit for me because one, every time there's a party, the problem is you can't invite me because you have to invite my brother. And he gets jealous. So yeah, even birthday parties, which pisses me more off. And here's the deja vu. I think it was 2015 while I was visiting back Florida. I think it was during the winter break from vacation after during my Celsius degree at university. We came back to Florida. We passed down my old elementary school, which we had to change because of, my brother, of course. Plus, he was having trouble in the school, which I remember it was Blue Lake Elementary. Actually, I kind of liked the school. It was more closer at home. Fortunately, my brother was a troublemaker. How that behavior happened? I have no idea. And the moment we passed by, they say, "Hey, how about?" My mom says, "How about we visit the place?" He just literally dropped a hard N-O, like, "No," and like, the fuck just happened? Years after we moved to the island, and we've only remembering the name of the school, it's like, what the fuck happened to him? I have no idea. I remember he's always feisty, fighting, Well, he has autism, but he wasn't like that when we were living in West Virginia at the time. But here is like something he didn't like. But when we moved to change to school, which they can't have one in one school and the other in the other school. So I had to put, because of him, I had to change my butt over there, which is Volusia Pines Elementary, which is where I finished from my second until I graduated in my 5th grade over there. And there he was calm. Literally. No trouble, no none. It's like, what the fuck happened to you? I was watching you like a hog and you were like, huh? It's like you feel bad mojo at that school. I only went to the principal's office once because I talked too much. Really? Just for talking? And she was like on the phone. I saw my brother's name on her desk, like, oh boy. And she wanted to expel him, literally. Jesus Christ. And that was in Blue Lake. Hey, ain't my problem ain't my problem the chatterbox? There are things more serious than talking too much. But yeah, during Halloween, it wasn't like in West Virginia though, because I remember I was at Arson Elementary. Well, two actually. I started in Lewisburg Elementary, from preschool to kindergarten, because at Arson it was full, so I had to spend my first preschool and kindergarten in Lewisburg. Halloween, we had like Halloween parades. And when I changed to Arterton, which is actually near the house, literally, my house is like on a slope. The school's down below. We just walk there, walking distance. It's next to like a beehive, like a bee orchard, I think. And they have Halloween parades, which I remember fondly, and also 4th of July, fireworks. It has a nice football field, like a massive football field. Damn. Jesus. I can remember every detail of it. I remember Fridays, if you got enough quarters, ice cream. Jesus Christ. After that, well, Halloween back both West Virginia and Florida. It was also television because I remember the pumpkins. I was obsessed with pumpkins. I love them when I was a kid. I didn't carve them. I just I had a marker and just draw their faces. That's it. Literally, I didn't carve them. I already carved my first pumpkin for a competition was back in Artisan. First time. I didn't know one while I was in Florida, which, damn. I remember watching Halloween specials on TV, be like the classics. I'm trying to like the Little Vampire. There was also the Disney Halloween specials like Halloween Town, Scary Godmother, even Billy and Mandy. Come on, even the new ones right back in the day. And I remember I think it was 2005 or 2006. It was when they had Goosebumps on Cartoon Network. I remember the bumpers for that. Jesus Christ. You know what's funny? I thought Goosebumps was new until I realized, like, a couple of days when I said the year, like, the 90s, like, oh, they're from the 90s. Okay. And I remember they had the marathon for the premiere of The Haunting Hour, the movie one before the series. Wow. Those were like a tradition to Cartoon Network until, I think it was until 2009. No, it was until 2008. Because I remember my first Halloween here in Puerto Rico, which it was raining as fuck. They didn't celebrate Halloween, if you remember. But at least I enjoyed watching a Goosebumps marathon until midnight, because the last episode of Goosebumps was Night of the Living Dummy 3. It was around midnight after A Night in Terror Tower. After that, I think it was during like when the period when Discovery Kids became the hub. They put Goosebumps there, and also I think it was also the Haunted Hour, the series. I remember Boomerang also released iconic series for October, like the Munsters and the Addams Family, but not the live. Yeah, they did the live action, but also the cartoon version of the Addams Family, which I did enjoy. Damn, those were good memories. But that'll be another time. But I think I talked too much. Let's get to the review of what you all been waiting for, right? But before we begin, did you subscribe and hit the bell? If so, let's see what Ava Pop Culture has in store.
Halloween used to feel like one of the absolute biggest nights of the year. All of spooky season, everyone coming together to share this. It was such a big deal. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you know exactly what I mean. Back then, you talk about horror movies, they weren't just films. They were cultural events. TV shows during the season rolled out special Halloween episodes, commercials, costumes, ad campaigns, neighborhoods. Everybody leaned into the season in this sort of shared way. It wasn't just about the holiday itself or the season. It was this shared ritual that brought us all together. But today, Halloween feels somehow bigger in some ways, but simultaneously smaller, individualized, more fragmented, more...
Yeah, that's something I didn't notice, because I remember back in the day, people go full out on Halloween, like literally, like even, like the same all out like Christmas, like when Christmas goes up, decorations everywhere. Same with Halloween. More graveyards, more cobwebs, pumpkins everywhere. Beautiful. Now it's just like, I think because of the culture, like after the pandemic, like people just, Jesus, but I miss the good old days. Like, hey, I witnessed Halloween in the early 2000s. It still has the 90s attached to it, even in the early 2000s, but hey. Damn. I kind of miss it though. Hey, I'm 29. This is like 20-ish years ago, so shit. Now I'm feeling old. Oh, I'm feeling old. Damn. I'm working on a horror attraction during October, which I'm having a lot of fun. Damn. Okay. Dude, when I had middle school here, it was boring as shit. Like, okay, it's not like in middle school, like in the States, where everybody literally have a great time, Halloween parties and that. Over here, oh boy. I think from the later half of my middle school to high school here, waste. You have to go to high school with the parties, which, the parties were good. I didn't like the music though. Reggaeton. Ugh. But that was the culture over here, so take it or leave it. But would I travel back in time and enjoy Halloween, the fall season, back in the States, if I had to move? I would enjoy it a whole lot more. Like, staying in touch with my friends, remembering good times during October. Every time the leaves falling, each house decorating for that spooky season. Even the candy. Oh boy, the buttload of candy. I remember I either use the pumpkin pail or my pillowcase, which any old timer who knew about the pillowcase used as a trick or treat bag, oh boy, you get a fat load of candy with that. But let's continue.
Daryl and kind of soulless for the most part.
Nice.
The shared pop culture that we used to have in the past has been replaced by personalized streaming, endless scrolling, fewer universal traditions that we all have together. All that kind of stuff has kind of been lost. So today, I want us to rewind the old VHS tape and take a long look back at why Halloween in the 80s and 90s was so much better and what we can do to bring back some of that lost magic. So pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this.
And here's a shitty ad.
Viaja en primera donde quiera que vayas. Nueva Hyundai Palisade 2026. Interior de...
Piss off.
Tape in. I got you. Let's go do this.
What's up, Vincent? American Vince pop culture.
So when you're talking about the 80s and 90s and Halloween and spookiness, you have to start with one of the biggest cultural phenomenons, particularly in the 80s, and that is horror movies. The 80s gave us horror movies in just a big boom, unlike anything we had before. You had Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Chucky. These weren't just scary characters. They became pop culture icons that stand to this day. Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. These are still culturally significant and huge today, and they were all born in the 1980s.
I gotta stop pausing here because, damn. Like I said before, horror movies are also always been a part. Tell you the truth, when I had cable in my room here, remember, Halloween was boring as shit. It was, it works perfect for me because Halloween's always lying on school night, which to me pisses me off, but hey, you want to cheers me up? AMC's Fear Fest or IFC. Something to join a marathon of Halloween, Friday the 13th. Nightmare on Elm Street, other classic horror films, slasher films. Damn, even Child's Play. Damn. Those were the only enjoyable memories for me during October while watching AMC's Fear Fest. Yeah, they'd be sure like Walking Dead, but hey, I wasn't that much of like zombies, I always like the classic ones, like of George A. Romero's work and other ones. Hoo. Less drama, more gore. Jesus Christ. And reminiscing this, damn. Now, hey, I got a whole library of horror films organized from the classic era to now, which, well, I'm a nitpicker, so any movie that has a good story, that catch my interest, I watch it, I like it. And if it is boring, yeah. Nah. But, dude, okay, I remember my first, I think it was I don't know which horror film that scared shit me the most. Because my first horror film was Halloween 2. It was the Rob Zombie one. Was it? Oh yeah, back in when I was in middle school, yeah. I was thinking of elementary, no, middle school. Middle school, yeah. It was Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. When Michael was stabbing, I forgot the name of the actress. She was in, The Help. She was the grandma in the new version of the witch of the witches. You know which one I'm talking about. She was pretty cool in that. She was awesome as a role as the grandma right there. Also, there was also Army of Darkness, which was my first experience of watching The Evil Dead. Which, here's the funny part, I didn't know there were 3 parts. I thought it was just a comic movie right there. Thanks to my uncle who was watching it, I just saw it. And also Sleepy Hollow, the Tim Burton one, which, thanks Mom. Which I enjoyed it, and it scared shit out of me. Literally. The scene with the origins of the Horsemen. Ooh. And also Friday the 13th, but it was in October, it was around February. I think there was a time when Bloody Valentine's Day 3D came out, and I was like, I didn't see it, but I didn't like it. We saw the original. The original's better. Plain and simple. But I got like I said before, I'm a chatterbox. I gotta stop talking. But hey, we gotta avoid copyright. You gotta put more commentary. So, But let's continue.
Halloween right there at the end of the 70s. But it continued on into the 80s. It's still continuing today. Yeah. And that's where we're going to get into some hope that we have.
Dude,
later on, though, even in the mid-90s, you had Ghostface that kind of carried that tradition on. Freddy, even back in the day, starred in MTV music video bumpers and had his own 1-900 hotline for kids where you could call Freddy. Jason showed up in comic books, video games, arcade machines. Chucky was so mainstream that he floated over New York in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Costumes followed the trend of horror movies back then. The plastic masks and makeup kits inspired by these killers in these horror movies filled store aisles. So even if the kids were too young to have really been watching these movies, you still knew who.
Fun fact, there's a documentary called I forgot, let me check it out. It's called Dressing Up Halloween. Like, my light's off again. There we go. As I said before, it's called Dressing Up Halloween, the Ben Cooper story, which came out last year, which tells about, this was the costume company that actually changed of what you wear on Halloween, like cheap, costume, but literally is recognizable. But the packaging and everything, it's recognizable. Even to this day, you see these costumes. Even NECA is actually creating like figures of kids wearing the popular Ben Cooper costumes. Like the classic ones. Jesus, I thought the documentary is quite cool. They interviewed some of the people who worked there, even graphic designers who did the packaging, the art. Wow. But let's continue.
All the characters were. You were still part of that shared experience, and you could dress like one for Halloween.
Ah, shit.
Desde que hice estas tres cosas, la velocidad de mi internet es la mejor. Acompáñame.
No experience, and you could dress like one for Halloween. Even Freddy Krueger himself, back in the day, appeared in a rap video with the Fat Boys, proving just how embedded horror movies were in the pop culture and how much influence they...
Hey, not just Freddy Krueger. Even Alice Cooper did a song called He's Back, which was actually a song used in Friday the 13th. I think it was part 7? No, part 6. Jason Lives. Which is a popular song. Either there's a music video of that as well.
Had on Halloween. But another one of the biggest reasons Halloween was bigger and better back then was the television. There is no doubt TV brought us together. Everyone watched the same shows at the same time. No DVR, no streaming. If you missed it, too bad. Wait until next year. Unless maybe, later on you got that old VHS, you popped it in, you recorded it. But even then you got the commercials and everything with it that still maintain that vibe that everyone experienced. That scarcity, though, made it special. It made those things,
Halloween 3,
appointment television, cultural events, and just added to the specialness of the season. Some of the biggest back then, they all got in on the act. Every network television show, and that's a big thing. You couldn't get away from it, and you were all there watching it together. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror started in October of 1990, just a few days before Halloween. And the first episode was a spoof of Amityville Horror and Poltergeist, followed by a send-up of the Twilight Zones to Serve Man, and finally a spooky version of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, narrated by James Earl Jones. The episode also introduced Kang and Kodos, who all these years later are still very popular, and that tradition quickly became yearly appointment television. Equal parts satire and spooky fun. Everybody had to watch.
Yep. The Simpsons never missed a single special for October. I think it was around, I think they had almost 32 or 33. Was it 32 or 33? Let me check. Century. Let's see. No! 36 Halloween specials. And what about the ones they did? No, they just didn't do just the Treehouse of Horror. They also did their specials, their standalones, at season 27 they did called Halloween of Horror, which was, I think, an episode before Treehouse of Horror. And back in 2022, for season 34, they did a parody of it. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror presents Not It. And I think it was last year, they did The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror presents Simpson Wicked This Way Comes, which is a parody of Something Wicked This Way Comes, Bradbury. There was, like I said, there's 36. Yeah, 36? Yeah. Season 3. No, not 36, 35. And I think number 36 is coming out this year, so. For number 37. So yeah, there's 35 Treehouse of Horror specials. 35. And I think they start calling Treehouse of Horror after number 10, I believe. Yeah. Yeah. The last one which was originally called the Halloween Special, was number 9. By number 10, they changed it to the Treehouse of Horror. The rest is history.
Later, myself, as I graduated high school in the 90s, you even had cult hit shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In its second season, it aired a Halloween episode where all of the kids got turned into the costumes. So those little plastic costume masks and all that stuff that was so popular,
I remember her.
That became a kind of turnabout is fair play, and those kids became the costumes. And Buffy, already a cult hit, kind of got cemented as a Halloween staple with that episode. You had other things like sitcoms like Roseanne that maybe had the most definitive Halloween sitcom episode ever. But you also had made-for-television horror films like Stephen King's It, the miniseries, which premiered in 1990, are films like Midnight Madness that celebrated Halloween and horror, and everyone was there to share in the experience of watching it together. Even later on, you had a mix of stuff in the theaters that became cult classics, from Ernest Scared Stupid to Hocus Pocus. Both of these movies are now just legendary cult films, massive followings, and it all started in the 80s and 90s. Television and movies helped us build that shared monoculture of Halloween. Millions of people tuned in to these episodes and these shows every week. They went to the theaters, rented horror films from their local mom and pop video rental stores, then later Blockbuster Video and Hollywood Video. And we all talked about the newest Halloween specials on TV the next day at school or at work, and relive them only through reruns, because you just had to wait. That scarcity again was so special.
Shit. And more ads. Oh, shut up.
Because you just had to wait. That scarcity again was so special. You also had something that was very kind of specific to the 80s and 90s back then that helped kind of build this Halloween culture, and that was horror hosts. And a couple of the biggest were Elvira and Joe Bob Briggs. They were a huge part of the horror scene in the Halloween season back in the 80s and 90s. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, Cassandra Peterson's character, she debuted in 1981 with her show Movie Macabre. So you had Elvira's Movie Macabre, where she showed B horror movies, campy, humor in there, all of her double entendres, and her outfit kind of just made her an icon right from the jump. She took that even further in 1980.
Yeah, how many people just see... Yeah. Other guys. Yeah, I like this woman. How you lost your puberty? Elvira. Yeah, imagine everybody, like, the late 80s, early 90s, seeing Elvira, like... Ooh. Like, all mouths dropped. Man, even till this day, she's like around her 70s or 80s. Damn, she still looks good, and she aged like wine. Whew. Damn. That's dedication right there, I tell you what. I remember seeing one of the movies that was her first film, which is a bit trippy. She just gave a poodle a makeover, like full punk mode.
84, kind of tying back into the commercials in that shared culture, when she became the spokeswoman for Coors Light during a Halloween campaign, because all of these big companies really leaned into the Halloween campaigns and ads.
Oh, yeah.
Then you had Joe Bob Briggs, who took over Monster Vision on TNT in the mid-90s and hosted Monster Vision, where he introduced everyone to drive-in totals, trivia, comedy, and kind of made you all feel like you were part of the same community that loved and shared the same things. And these two made every weekend in October feel even more spooky and even more huge. You also had regional hosts like Sven Gulli out of Chicago that made you feel like you had your own, horror thing going on in your neighborhood, and that kind of just connected everybody to the bigger season. But TV didn't stop there. They didn't stop just with the seasonal specials and the commercials. They really turned all of October, particularly, into an event. You had like TNT and USA Network running back-to-back horror movie marathons. You also had the debut of ABC Family's 13 Nights of Halloween, which began in like 1997, 1998, cementing a multi-day celebration of Halloween. It has now since moved to 31 days of Halloween, but somehow when it left the ABC Family brand behind in favor of Freeform, it left behind a little bit of its magic as well. MTV, though, back in the day, they got in on it. They dropped Halloween bumpers between every music video, and those commercials. In the 80s and 90s, every brand went spooky. You had McDonald's Halloween stuff, and then they introduced in 1986 the famous pumpkin pails that became a October Halloween obsession that my wife is still obsessed with to this day. You had Reese's with their classic commercials with vampires biting and sucking out the peanut butter. You had Coca-Cola putting on elaborate commercials that felt like horror films. They launched full-on Halloween contests. You had the beer companies, of course. You had Elvira with Coors. You had Spuds McKenzie doing psycho send-ups to kind of
Te ayudamos a maximizar la eficiencia de tus operaciones. T-Mobile for Business te ofrece asesoría.
You had Elvira with Coors. You had Spuds McKenzie doing psycho send-ups to kind of all cash in and all get into the flavor and the fever of the Halloween season. They kind of proved that Halloween wasn't just a night. It became an advertising season of itself, just like Christmas. And everyone was caught up in it because the commercials were not targeted to an individual via an algorithm. They were all shared. Everybody saw the same thing. This similar exposure gave us a similar experience and a similar vibe and feeling. That feeling of commonality that we could all share no matter how different we were, and that we could reinforce that feeling that we were all in this together, experiencing these same things together. That kind of stuff actually brought people together rather than separating us into our own little unconnected world, and that, unfortunately, is something that has been lost. The costumes back then, too, they were absolutely legendary in the 80s and 90s. It was all about the costume.
The Ben Cooper costume.
Back then, you also had the Ben Cooper costumes, which were those very uncomfortable plastic masks that you wore that had the little rubber band to keep them on your head, and you had like a vinyl jumpsuit that you put on with it, and you would sweat inside this thing. But you had everything. They mass produced them. They sold around 12 million costumes per year in their heyday in the 80s, and you could find these everywhere, from Freddy Krueger to Batman, Beetlejuice, Ninja Turtles, later the Power Rangers. Every kind of pop culture icon of the horror genre and stuff, you could find your costume. Drugstores even sold things like vampire blood kits, glow-in-the-dark paint, scar wax, zombie makeup. Every kid tried to look like they stepped right out of their favorite horror movie or Saturday morning cartoon. But there was also cheap DIY costumes back then that fit right in. Like myself, we weren't always blessed with the ability to just go buy the newest costume. So we had fun creating our own, whether it was my brother and I pretending to dress up and be hobos hitting the road, or punk rockers with slick back hair sprayed orange and green and clip-on earrings, or me doing my best Michael Jackson impression circa 1980-ish. We always had a lot of fun, and with your DIY costumes, you could still fit right in with anyone who did go buy the latest hot costume. It didn't matter. The fun and the experience is what mattered. Once you had your costumes on, you were headed out into the neighborhood, and the neighborhoods in the 80s and 90s were lit. They were alive. The streets were packed with kids, parents chatting on porches, every house glowing, had that porch light on. Homemade decorations, though, back then ruled. It's not the very fancy stuff people are buying now to put on Instagram and things like that. People were making homemade decorations. You had tombstones made out of cardboard, black lights, cobwebs, fog machines, decorating up suburban garages. Some families even turned those into like little haunted walkthroughs that you had to go through to get your candy. Schools would lean into the holidays. We'd have decorations everywhere, Halloween parties in class, Halloween themed assignments even. Basically, we were all immersed in the fun all of the time. Halloween night itself became like a street party, a night when the whole community was outside together. And that's something that isn't the same with like a trunk or treat, where most of the kids don't even bother getting dressed up at all, and the whole thing is kind of a drab, soulless, and kind of cold experience that's hiding under the guise of safety and convenience. So what happened?
What the fuck?
Well, as I discussed on my video, how streaming ruined Halloween as we knew it, technology happened. It fractured Halloween. Streaming replaced that appointment TV that we all shared. So instead of everyone watching The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, or TNT horror marathons, or Joe Bob Briggs or Elvira at the same time, or the premiere of Halloween 2 on Sunday night at the movies, or whatever it was, people can binge whatever they want to, whenever they want to. Ads are algorithm driven to you specifically, not shared cultural moments that would one day become shared nostalgic touchstones to the past, to be shared and passed forward to the generations in the future. Fewer kids are trick-or-treating, and fewer kids are just being born these days. You have so many adults choosing to not even have children and just kind of have not a shared experience, but just their own individual experience from now on. Halloween shifted from that shared community ritual to an individualized, isolated experience.
Jesus Christ, Ah, fuck. Damn it, that's... You done? Ah, fuck.
Experience.
Yep.
But, as I said, the spirit of Halloween is not dead. It is not dead. People are buying elaborate decorations and spreading Halloween spirit all over their homes. We just need that to translate into a shared experience in the communities, rather than just be for an individualized experience that also has the best chance to go viral with a picture or a reel on Instagram or TikTok. So to that end, we look to an unlikely source for saving Halloween, so to speak. Theme parks. Theme parks have kept the spirit of Halloween alive with massive shared experiences that started in the early 90s, like 90, 91, where you had Universal's Halloween Horror Nights begin in Orlando in 91 as Fright Nights, and it quickly grew into the premier haunted event in the world, with elaborate movie quality haunted houses and movie tie-ins like The Exorcist, Stranger Things, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, the Halloween franchise. It became the must-go-to Halloween spectacle, and it ties current pop culture and
And not just that, including the creative original hosts. Like, you got one. The first one was being Jack the Clown. The next was I think it was the filmmaker. Originally, it was supposed to be a little girl, but they kind of scrapped that because, you know, they've been kidnappings. The usher, the storyteller, the mortician. That's another one. Jack's assistant. I think it was Lady Luck. And another one was supposed to be the one who's in charge of all Halloween. I forgot his name. But there have been 8, as I know. There have been only 8 hosts during Halloween Horror Nights in Universal. But hey, I gotta check. Damn. Let's continue.
Fans of today to the past. And the same can be said for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, which debuted in Disney World in 1995. And, you know, kind of different than Universal's more terrifying event, Disney leaned into the younger family fun where you can trick or treat through the parks. You check out the Halloween themed parades, special fireworks, merchandise, all that kind of stuff. But the big thing is both events reminded us that people still actually do crave that shared experience and the shared Halloween rituals that brought us all together. They prove Halloween thrives better with a community. Many local haunts have also taken up this cause and continued to bring fans of old and new fans together for a better recapturing of the Halloween magic of the past and bringing that into the future. So there is reason for hope. It is there. We can get it back. There's a reason shows like Stranger Things have exploded in popularity. They tap into that longing for the shared pop culture of the 80s and 90s. The music, the VHS glow, the neighborhood camaraderie, all things we've lost in the algorithm-driven world of today. People now flock to shows and movies and even seasonal Halloween stores that rekindle that love of the 80s.
I'm sorry, but we don't have a spirits here. Damn. I wish we do. That would be an awesome store to visit. Damn. A bunch of abandoned stores here? Why not to build one here? Good question.
The next generation, kind of transport them back to a different place in time. There are massive groups to this day that count down every Joe Bob Briggs drive-in show lead up. So like the show starts a countdown within an hour or two and people are just getting pumped. So it's still there. People still want this kind of stuff. These things just show that the spirit of Halloween is still there. We just have to put down our phones and experience it.
And
our phones and experience it together. This nostalgia isn't just about the aesthetics and how it looks, whether it was wood paneled or bright neon colored. It's not just about what you can post online. It's about the feeling that we were all in it together. We were experiencing this together. Halloween was one night out of the year. I mean, you had Christmas and Halloween and Thanksgiving. You had these days, you had these one nights where the world slowed down. Halloween night, the lights dimmed. Everyone, kids and adults, played along, and slowing down and experiencing things is something that we all need to consider doing. Stop and smell the candy corn. Halloween in the 80s and 90s wasn't just better because of the movies. It wasn't just better because of the costumes or the TV specials or the commercials or haunted Halloween events. It was better because it was shared. We all tuned into the same shows, wore the same costumes, watched the same horror movies at the theaters, rented the same horror movies, watched the same horror movies and TV specials premiering on their special night and times on network TV. We all filled the same streets. If we want that magic back, we can choose that. Again, we can choose the community, the shared experience over an individualized one.
What's that one?
Host a horror marathon. Hang out with friends. Turn on the porch light. Give out candy. Step back out into the dark. Just like I said before, it's all still right there. We can just reach out and touch it. It's there to bring back, because Halloween was never meant to be experienced alone in your own little world of your own little algorithm. It was meant to be a night we all lived together.
Yeah.
And that's what I got for you this time. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Happy spooky season. Bye-bye.
Oh boy. Whew. That was an awesome video. I'm quite intrigued. Man, even remembering, even though I was born in 96 and lived through Halloween in the early 2000s, you still have that nostalgia from the 90s, from Halloween from the 90s and the 80s right there. Before it hits the 2010s, because damn, once it reached 2010, everything changed. Shit. Those were good memories. Seeing those old ads, commercials, even those specials. Damn. Does that bring memories? Man, puts a tear in somebody's eye. Remembering a bygone era, where the candy was good, the costumes were memorable. There was no streaming service. We had television. I will know. I actually recorded A Nightmare Before Christmas on VHS. Like, you know one of those VHS tapes used for recording? Yep. I did that so I could rewatch it. And my idiot brother almost ruined it because he pressed record, guess what it was on? Ben 10, like, don't you fucking dare. Literally, damn. I still have the tape. Not just Nightmare Before Christmas, calling the Haunted Pumpkin from Sleepy Hollow, which, one, I like the story of Sleepy Hollow, and when I saw it, now I want to see it. And I enjoyed it. I have the film on my laptop, which it's in public domain, which, hey, go check it out. I recommend watching. I did a review on that as well. Wow. But yeah, I think that'll be it for today. And if you enjoyed this reaction, hey, comment down below. Let me know what other videos you want me to react to. Also, check out... Sorry, I have to say right. Okay. So, also check out Ava Pop Culture's channel. Hey, I'll leave the link to the original videos. You can check out yourself. But yeah, Jesus Christ. This was well informative. Plus, it's like traveling back memory lane. Damn. But yeah. Let me know in the comments down below what other reaction you want me to do. If it involves Halloween themed, hey, we're almost in the end of September because, hey, it's already spooky season, so let's get it on. But yeah, and also a special announcement. Next week on September 19th, my gameplay to The Blair Witch, the game, will be premiering on September 19th, part 1, because, hey, it'll be in parts of me playing the game as a game through, because the video is huge, so I divide into parts, so I hope you enjoy, because, hey, it's not just reviews I'm planning to do, hey, scary video games, it'll be fun. But yeah, I think that'll be it for today. If you're new to the channel, remember to subscribe, hit the bell, like this video, and also have a great night, everybody. Have a great day. Stay spooky because hey, the season has just begun. See ya.